All right, everyone, welcome back for another episode of Carnivore Trade. Today's Friday, October 15th, 2021. So, markets getting a little bit of a follow-through rally from yesterday. S&P up about 0.7%, NASDAQ just under 0.5%, Dow leading the charge up 1% here, and the Russell kind of fading a little bit of those gains back, just up 1/10 right now. And that is with the higher yield here, but we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Big story on the day is obviously Bitcoin. So we're looking at TradingView Bitcoin right here, and we talked about this trend line. This was your MA pattern, your head and shoulders pattern, whatever you want to call it, neckline. And I said this was going to be the big level to get through. And now we've kind of pushed through that. We had a little bit of consolidation here, but we had a nice move, and now we're grinding through that. So that is the level to watch. If this holds, which it likely will, although you are into quite a bit of resistance here at 60,000, and this is basically you're almost at double top already. But if this holds, Bitcoin and crypto in general has a history of just making impulsive moves, and I'd say that 65,000 can go pretty easily, and we could see a pretty meteoric rise into the end of the year. Now, interestingly enough, we're not seeing a lot of movement from the alts here. Ethereum doing, having a nice little day here. And it is getting close to this pivot high from earlier September, which is not too far off from double top. But then you have Doge, Litecoin, XRP, Solana. Neither of them are really doing a ton here in comparison to Bitcoin. So back in 2017, when we had that top out in Bitcoin, it was meteoric, and then the alts really didn't run until after Bitcoin had topped out. That's when it became alt season. So could be in for a bit of a repeat there. So just something to keep an eye on. But moving back to the equity markets here, so we have yields up again, and that really is putting pressure on gold. Gold getting whacked here pretty decisively. We had a nice resistance, or excuse me, if we had closed above this pivot high 1810.60, that would have been a very bullish indicator. That's gotten pushed back down. So gold just really, it's so tied to the 10-year at this point, as is the rest of the market. But gold really remarkably just mirroring the 10-year. As you see, gold getting a nice bid Wednesday, Thursday as yields pulled back, and now yields up, and not even really taking out the high or anything, but it is putting a ton of pressure on gold. So we're seeing that there. We're also seeing the NASDAQ up, but not as much as the S&P, not as much as the Dow. So again, these are all things that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. But NASDAQ 100 here having a little bit trouble. Still not above the 50-day moving average on the daily time frame, as opposed to the SPY, which is, and it's having a nice little rally into the end of the week here. So we look on the intraday, catching a little bit of a bid in the afternoon, coming off the highs, now just chopping around. A lot of this seems to be Opex related stuff here. I do have some resistance here. We have a gap fill at 447 on the SPY. My major area of resistance is going to be around 450 there. So that is kind of near-term max upside, I think, on the SPY. If we look at this time of year last year, we're almost following the same pattern. So we had this move down, a little bit of a bearish chop, and then another leg lower. And then look at how we attempted to reclaim the highs here. Nice surge here, and then gap, gap, gap. Narrow body gaps as well on the SPY, with the exception of this bar and really the topping bar. And we got almost up to challenging that double top before we faded that all back. And this was 7th of October through the 12th. Right now we're at the 15th of October here. And look at what we've done. We had a nice little, a move down, little chop, leg lower, up, ABC up, and now gap, big wide range body bar, and now a smaller body. So if we have a gap up into that 450 area on Monday, it would be very, very interesting, because it's going to look exactly like how the market did last year before it rolled over. And again, 450 should be some pretty good resistance here. And, really bearish sentiment just got to, I've talked about that really the whole way. Pretty much since late August, I've been saying the only problem with this market is there's just too many bears in it. And sure enough, we still got a correction, but there was a lot of bears at the lows here, and a lot of them needed to be shaken out, and that's why we're seeing the market get a relief rally here into Opex, which does expire in about 40 minutes or so for the equity markets. By the way, look at stocks like Verizon here. closing right, they've pinned this thing right down to about $52. Look at how they sold it off, got it all the way down to 51. Now it's closing around 52. That is probably the number that they're looking for, Opex wise. T-Mobile, same kind of deal. Look at $18. They pinned it right there. Intraday, look at how we had this nice gap up, and then they got it down to 18 or 118, and then it's just kind of chopping right in that range. So looking like a lot of Opex chop going on today, as to be expected. Let's take a look at some other areas. So financials, Morgan Stanley following through with yesterday. I talked about a potential short on this, but never really got a sell signal yesterday. I did not like that gap up. Morgan Stanley still following through here. Wells Fargo having a nice reversal today. It did sell off on earnings yesterday, but getting a nice bid there. This area around $49, $50, that should still be pretty decent resistance on that one. JP Morgan also getting a bid. So financials doing nicely today, again, obviously with the higher yield. Energy, XLE pushing that high there. So now making a new high on the week and really a year-to-date high as well. But again, I think financials energy probably has to do a little bit of backing and filling before it can get through that area. Crude still making a nice move here. And again, we're looking at probably $85 to $90 there on spot crude as your major next major stops, really. We talked about copper earlier in the week, and copper is really blasted higher here. So 3 bars up just like that. And getting close to that double top area probably has to do some backing and filling to get through that. But now getting through that channel, and we've confirmed above that. So that channel is pretty much history at this point. But yeah, as far as the rest of the market is concerned, just a pretty much routine Opex Friday. Not a whole lot going on. Just kind of a lot of chop intraday and whatnot. Nothing too crazy going on in the markets outside of Bitcoin, really. But anyways, guys, take care. Make sure to stay tuned for the weekend video, which will be on Wall Street from Main Street, as always. But you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Take care, and I'll talk to you next week.